looks like American Airlines
Yes.
O'Hare Airport.
Yes.
All right. Where are you visiting Chicago from?
Texas.
Texas. Which part of Texas?
The Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Dallas-Fort Worth. I get that a lot, actually. It's really nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Pretty much, if anybody's from Texas, that's usually where they're from.
Yeah, I moved out there 2 years ago. Here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's quite a change, but right now it's scorching hot. But I do appreciate being there in the cold months,
Sure.
which are nice months over there.
Yeah.
So it's nice, like September through May, and then the summer is kind of like winter here, where it's just unbearable.
Sure.
But
Yeah, I heard it was like 120 a couple of weeks ago or something like that last
Sure.
week. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nuts. Sure. So what brought you to Texas other than the weather?
well, I have my sister's been out there for some time, and we've been going to visit for years. And my husband loved the weather and was like, "We need to move here." Because he was done with winter.
Yeah, I get that. Absolutely.
But of course, like, who knew there was going to be a pandemic and whole housing situation happening?
Sure.
So, very interesting time to move.
Is that when you moved? Like
Yeah,
right?
we
Oh,
moved
gosh.
in 2021.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, because Chicago shut down for a bit, and then you said, all right, maybe we'll go to, because Texas, didn't they? What did they do for the pandemic? They kind of were like
Well,
whatever.
we were still here for the pandemic. We were here all of 2020 into. We didn't move until like June of
Okay.
2021.
Right.
So at that point, the vaccine had already come out.
Yeah.
So, because I received my first dose here,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we were sort of still trying to figure it all out. But over there it was like open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
like, yeah, just let everybody out.
Yeah, but I did find that people just took different approaches. Where some people wore masks, some didn't.
Yeah.
But it was fine. Like, I mean, not fine, but it wasn't. People weren't saying anything to you either way.
Sure.
Where I think here was more like it was just sort of expected, like, and people wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It was one of those things where in Chicago, if you weren't wearing a mask, people just assumed you were a Trump supporter. And
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
But in Texas, there's like, they're like, yeah, exactly, yeah, we're fine. That's just how that is. So.
Oh, there's also lots of Trump supporters there.
So, well, yeah, that's why.
Interesting place to be.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
politically, it's been a shift.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, where am I?
Very
What is
not
happening?
liberal, unfortunately. Yeah.
They have this. They just like the state and the people there operate very differently with everything, and it's so interesting because you don't realize. I've only grown up here, and lived here my whole life. So
okay.
when we moved out, they were like, oh, people just move differently. Like, here, like, yes, we like you, we're friendly, but if we're gonna do business, we need a contract. And over there, they're like, you have my word, you have my handshake, and it's like, that doesn't feel very
Sure.
Yeah.
And then does the word and handshake hold up, or does it not hold up? Or are they just more casual over there?
Well, it holds up, but there's a lot of like, well, yes. And it's like, no.
No, I see.
Yeah. So there's nothing to, or there's kind of this like, well, it's always worked, so there's nothing wrong. It's just different. It's like, yeah, I did notice that. I'm like, oh, are we just like used to, I mean, I know we're not New York in that pace, but we definitely are like, okay, things move a lot quicker, and we have that expectation.
I've noticed that, yeah.
I've learned to adjust, like, because at first I'm like, why am I waiting in a Starbucks line for 20 minutes? But now I'm like, okay, this is my time to scroll, this is my time to read.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yes.
very true. I've noticed even in some of the suburbs out here, if you get far enough out there, it's a completely different vibe at the Starbucks or
The
at
pace
a
and just like,
grocery
yeah.
store. Yeah, and I'm from LA. I'm from California, so I'm just like I'm ready to move. Let's go. There's 10 million people we got to deal with here.
Right.
But not out in the burbs. They're just like, no, this is you're one of 8 today. So.
Yes. No rush.
No rush. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, I guess, good and bad. It has a goodness too. It's okay, relax.
Right,
It doesn't have to be. I'm not in a rush. I don't have to have it now, so that's fine. What do you do for work out there?
Actually, my company is based here in Chicago, so I'm a co-founder of an education research and consulting firm, and we founded it here in Chicago. And my co-founder still lives here, and half of our team is here. So we had a mid-year retreat with the team, just because we are remote, and some of us are in Chicago, but there's some in Texas, Colorado, Northwest Indiana. So it was just a time for us to come together and have team building and FaceTime and all that.
Yeah, those retreats are fun. So
Yeah.
how long was the retreat? What did you guys
It
do?
wasn't long enough, we realized, because we all are like the ones that were traveling. We arrived Tuesday afternoon. So we had all of Tuesday evening, all of yesterday, and then this morning. And then most of our team members left about 11 a.m. I stayed behind just to do some work as a co-founder with the other co-founder.
Sure.
So, but yeah, we were actually saying like if we're gonna have everyone travel for that long, it's a lot of effort to travel.
Right, for a day or two.
So we'll have to add another day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah.
Yeah,
It was nice though, and we picked Evanston for the people in Chicago, so they felt like they were going somewhere. We're like, and you get to go to Evanston.
There you go.
It is a trek though, because our office is in Chicago, so and we went out there yesterday, and we took ride shares there. We're like, this is far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially the time of day.
Evanston is hard to get to and from.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Chicago. You really, if you're in the burbs, you need a car. If you're in the city, you don't.
Fine.
But if you're out here, you need a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's very much that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long ago did you move out here?
I moved out here end of 2018.
Okay.
So, is that like 5 years? Not even 5 years yet. Yeah.
Well, how are you doing with winters?
I tell people I have not acclimated. I just have snow-induced PTSD. So that's all. I just stay inside once it gets a little cold. And to me, cold is 65.
Yeah.
So that's freezing. So as soon as 65 happens, I'm gone.
Were you here for the polar vortex? Then?
You know what's great is I was here for that one and for the 2013 polar vortex.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2013 was where I learned that bone-chilling cold was a real feeling.
Yes.
It was brutal. It was so bad. I hated it. Yes, yeah. And
yeah. I think there was one in 2019 maybe.
Yeah, 2018, 2019 winter right there. Yeah, there was another one, and that was the same thing where it got down to like negative 30.
Yeah.
I was very lucky for that one because I was working from home. I'd been working from home since like 2017, so it was like, oh, cool, okay. So I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to do anything. And like all of my coworkers in California were like, oh, you must be freezing. It must be terrible. I was like, actually, it's 80 degrees right now. I'm fine. Yeah. I'm in shorts. It's great. My Grubhub delivery person though, they just died because it's really cold. But yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah. So what type of like education research you said?
Yes. So we do. Our clients are mainly nonprofits, foundations, or other educational organizations like network of schools or single schools or even like larger school districts. That need it's more on the professional services side. So if they're looking for actionable research or they have questions and they're looking for evidence to help them understand or answer their questions, we provide that kind of research. If they have a program and they want an evaluation, like we want to know what's working, what's not, how to improve it, we conduct an evaluation for them. If there's a need for like needs assessment. So it's sort of more in the social science realm of, you know, looking at collecting data, quantitative data and qualitative data to be able to make sense and answer questions that our clients may have. So yeah, so sometimes and our what we're trying to do is really help them inform decisions about what programs to design, how to change their program, how to sustain their program, or even how to determine what investments to make in a community, if it's like a charitable foundation or organization. So, you know, how are they going to know how to spend their money or where to invest if they don't ask people who live there, or, you know, look at existing like data of like who lives there, will be living there in a few years and all of that. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So you work on like getting metric information and
Yes.
getting program info, like you said, the qualitative and quantitative. So to then say, okay, here's what we've got going on here, and then here's how that might be presenting itself. So this would be a good program to do because you've got, you know, people of these types of families or something like that. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's for like the smaller school types?
It's for either nonprofits who do direct services or foundations who invest in different nonprofits or schools or communities, or for even schools. Yeah, depending on. So just anyone who's in the sort of education space.
I see. So how did you get into something like that as a founder? What made you say this is a void?
Well, most of my professional career, if not all of my professional career, has been in like research organizations and think tanks.
Okay.
Leading a lot of similar but kind of different work, but leading evaluations for like districts and state education agencies. And so it was more about how do I do this work but approach it differently, and maybe serve a different set of clients that are not, that I haven't served. So it was more of that, and my co-founder brings, we kind of our skill sets kind of complement each other. So that's how we came together, and yeah, we've been around for 6-7 years. I'm losing count, so that's a good sign. I think it's 7 years now.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're at a point now of like we built a small team of, there's a team of 7. We're adding the 8, so we're sort of in the growth stage.
Sure. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So servicing nonprofits as well. That's really interesting. Adding
Philanthropy and like schools.
Yeah. Because it really never it never occurred to me that it would be outside of the organization itself that was doing that research, but it makes sense to have something like another company, another organization come through and say, okay, let's take a look at this, take a look at that.
Yeah, it does require a lot of, it's like intense time and effort, and a certain set of skills. And it also helps sometimes in terms of to really, especially if you're doing like interviews or focus group, to have somebody external do it.
Yeah.
And also, like, for some of these organizations, like, that's not what they do, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, and especially if it's a nonprofit, right? They're not going to have staff dedicated to doing that research.
Right.
They're not going to have the budget for it, but
Right.
they would have to outsource something like that. Sure, no, that makes perfect sense. That's very cool. Yeah, I always get such interesting and unique stories from people.
I'm like, I'm sure you've heard it all in this car.
You know, I haven't, and I want to. So that's exactly it. Like, I'm like, yeah, what do you do? Who are you? Where do you come from? That's what I love. Yeah. So what does your husband do out there?
He is currently working for the city of Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, he's there. He's been working for the city. Yes, he got there.
that's good. So yeah, you're able to find work, get established. At least you took your work with you, so you didn't have to look for it. Yeah, that can be so helpful.
Yeah, that's a big part. Is like, okay, if you're gonna move, like, are there employment opportunities, or are you gonna be able to? How long is it gonna take to get a job? All that stuff. But thankfully, you know, I was in a situation where, to your point, I was able to kind of take my work with me, and because of COVID, right? Too, like, we were all remote anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, we
were sort of a hybrid prior to COVID as well, so the transition wasn't like as rough for us as it maybe was for others.
Sure. No, that's good at least. Yeah. If you're already hybrid, you're already ready for it. I remember when COVID happened. I work in tech 9 to 5, so when COVID happened, a lot of places that weren't remote were like, we got to get remote ASAP. So that was on a guy like me to figure out, which was a lot of fun. But
I'm like, oh, we've been using Zoom.
Yeah.
Although Zoom went to like many other levels than what it was.
What I love, it's so funny. So I was doing this in the Bay Area, and I had a passenger in the car, and I was like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I work at Zoom. I do tech support. And I'd known about Zoom since like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, oh, man. I was like, that place is on its way out. You should just quit. Get a new gig, man. And I really hope he didn't listen, because he was like, well, I have stock. I have this, blah, blah. And like, he would be rich by now if he didn't listen to me. Fortunately, I'm really like, people don't listen to me when they have that advice. I also met, have you ever heard of Skrillex? He was like famous for dubstep, and he was in another band called From First to Last. I knew him from that, and he was a friend of mine, and I met him in LA. And I told him, like, he was like, oh, I'm getting into being a DJ. And I was like, oh, being a DJ is dumb. Don't do that. And then he was like, well, I really enjoy it. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever, but it's dumb. And then flash forward 5 years, he won an Emmy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I really hope that guy didn't listen. I hope he stayed at Zoom and got rich. Yeah.
I know. My husband's like, why didn't you buy stock? I was like, well, I didn't know it was going to become this thing. Right?
Nobody did. I for sure didn't, because there were so many other companies that were better, I would have thought would have blown up that didn't blow up. Like Skype was kind of the big one, and I don't know how that didn't happen.
Skype was the big thing for a while, but I never used Skype because I didn't really care for it.
Sure.
I remember using Google Hangout,
but
it was also like, it was okay.
Yeah, Yahoo had one for a little while too, and then the professional ones, there was Blue Jeans, there was Zoom, there was I
have used Blue Jeans prior to. It's interesting. Oh my goodness! I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and I hated Blue Jeans, but they got pretty big, you know. And so I was glad that Zoom at least was easy to use. It was pretty easy to use, but then it seems like it's like Zoom and Teams are the ones.
WebEx.
Yes, WebEx. That was another one. Cisco WebEx.
But that was also like, it's so interesting though, because even then I thought it was kind of archaic, and it still continues to be, in my opinion. So.
Oh yeah. And it's just very basic, but they're like, okay, people that use it, the people that don't, and that's it. And it has a lot of back-end features, again, because I work in cloud infrastructure and server systems, so I get to deal with all the back-end stuff and setting people up, and I'm like, WebEx is easy enough if there's ways where it's already integrated. That's why some people like it.
Right.
But you know,
so
that's
I remember using WebEx, like, woo. But we were using Zoom, and well, now I think the two big ones are Zoom or Teams.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, those are the two big ones, Zoom and Teams. Those seem to be the ones. And now it's like, I don't know. Are you going to stay with being remote for your company?
Yeah, we were just having a conversation about that right now.
Yeah.
About how we are remote and how to like build connections. But I think so, because, well, yes and no. So we have about half of our team here in Chicago, so we kept our co-working space. Okay. And so they still, now with things opening up, once things started to open up, they started going to the space like twice a month.
Okay.
And so first it was like once a month, and then as things continue to get better, now they're twice a month.
I see.
So they do, and who knows if that'll change. because before it was like we would go to the office once a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that'll change. So those folks are remote, but kind of like they could become hybrid.
Sure.
But then the rest of us are spread. Like
Yeah.
we're in Colorado, we're in different parts of Texas.
Sure.
So I don't know how we would. That was what we were trying to figure out.
Right, yeah. How could you make it any other way? I'm sure you're not going to want to go once a week to hop on an airplane and come
Right.
visit, especially not in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're like, how do we do this?
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like for the most part, remote work is definitely staying. People really like it. It's not going anywhere. So I think, I think it'll be.
Yeah, but then there's another aspect to it, and that's what we're talking about right now, is that, before COVID, where you worked was where you also built friendships, because you had that time
Right.
during lunch or after work to, or maybe on the weekends, like you'd meet your coworkers.
Right.
And so that part is sort of not always there anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But especially if you're remote.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about that and like, what can we do, if anything, to fill that void, or like, like as a company, we're like, oh.
Right. And at what point is it? I think a lot of the younger generations are like, we're here to work. That's all we don't want to be social. We don't want to be friends. We don't want to, so it's the question is, what's the trade-off? And I think as the kids that were in high school or college for COVID start to graduate, they're, I think for the most part also kind of either on their own. They're like, no, we're not really.
That they're okay. Like,
Yeah. At least I think so. I think that might be the case.
I don't know. I think as a human, you still need some level of like
Absolutely.
minimal level
Yes.
of like face-to-face interaction with another human. Like,
Yeah, that's very true. It is a human need. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So what do you do as a remote worker for yourself? Like how do you take care of that need?
That's a great question. Well, that's what I was telling. Well, and also just having moved, not just, but
It's recent enough.
Being
I say I just moved, so you can say
it's
you
been
moved.
2 years.
Yeah.
But I'm also with, we're like, how do you find friends at an older age when, there's no like sort of community that's bringing you together, or institution, if you will. So,
Can't do online dating. You're married, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
married.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm not online dating, but I haven't done anything. So to answer your question, I'm like, I haven't done anything. I'm like, I'm going to focus on my work, my kids,
Yeah.
my dog,
Okay.
everything but
Yeah.
my social needs. But no, I was telling my co-founder right now, it's like, maybe I've been in this place before where like friends have moved away, and I've moved away, and I'm like, oh, what do you do? Like, how do you find a new set of friends or a community? And I'm like, I think I need to draw from that. Like, I remember joining groups, or like just trying to find folks with common interests.
Yeah. My buddy was on an app, Meetup. I think I don't know if it's still around, but he used that.
I remember Meetup.
Yeah, because that was like pre-COVID, so I don't even know if it's a real thing anymore.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
But I'm sure if not, there's got to be a resurgence, because I think people
or
are
like Facebook
ready.
groups, but I
Yeah.
don't know about Facebook, but yeah.
Yeah, see, Facebook can be too tricky for that. So I don't know.
But I do remember Meetup groups too.
Yeah, Meetup was fun. See, I was going to ask if you had kids. So you have kids?
Mm-hmm.
How old are they?
15 and 12.
15 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
So almost a teenager and a teenager. How did they like the relocation? How are they feeling about it?
They did better than we did.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Well, that's great.
Well, my son did. It's interesting because we thought my daughter would do better than my son, but my son did a lot better than my daughter. And for her, it was just more like finding the right school, the right fit. But they're both doing fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, and actually, I had a former coworker who moved from this area to Virginia years ago, and I was having this conversation with him about, you know, we're thinking of moving in a couple of years, and he told me, like, when we moved, the move was a lot harder for my wife and I than for the kids.
Sure.
They adapted, they adjusted, they were fine, they made friends.
Wow.
So, like, I was like your kids, because I was worried about my kids.
Yeah,
like,
of
your
course.
kids are gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And so he was right.
No, it's very true. Yeah, because they just go into a school, and that's just
Right,
how it
and they're
works. They
like-
just dump into a pool and find a friend. Here you
Right,
go.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That makes sense. Maybe they should try that approach with grown-ups, because the school is just based on where you're located, right?
Yeah.
And you just have to go. So just take all of the adults and just make them hang out for
Make
6
them hang out for
hours.
6 hours.
Yeah.
At least once a month.
Once a month, and just then figure it out from there. I
Yes.
think that might work. That might be
think
the
so
thing.
too,
Yeah. So just 2 kids, and now you're done.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I was just talking to 2 people I picked up in Evanston, and their last of 3 just enrolled in their first year of college. So they're
Oh,
just like,
wow.
finally we're done.
Wow.
But I was like, it goes one way or the other. It's either oh no or oh yes.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah. I mean, that's another stage of life too.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. No, yeah, you're just getting into high school,
Mhm.
so you're not there yet.
in the middle school, high school years.
Yeah. Which are fun, you know, the teenage stuff. How did they do when you're? I was just talking to somebody. My daughter, she's 9, so she's not a teenager yet. I'm not having to deal with it. I don't know. So how were your kids like when they hit teenage years? Was it troublesome? Was it difficult? Was it easy?
Well, I think their experience being teenagers is so different than mine, at least. So the trouble isn't like, I think parents can think, oh, my kid's fine because they're in my house, but they, you know, like things are happening on text or
Yeah.
social media or,
Yeah.
you know,
Internet,
what
whatever.
they're playing, like
Yeah.
the games. So it's more of like, it's different, and it seems like either invisible or like harmless. So it's kind of like every once in a while you have to be like, okay, what's going on?
Sure.
But I'm thankful for is that they have found kind of something in addition to like academics that they're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, so that's important from my perspective. Like, I don't know if I had that, I don't remember, but I think that's helpful for them in terms of just like being connected to other kids and
Yeah.
making friends and not fully isolating themselves, I guess, and
Mhm.
force them out of the house, because that generation, like they're so like on everything's like on their phones and, you know, like
Right.
or on their computers. So
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
and that's very true. That and having any after-school social programs
Yeah,
is,
it's
at
important.
all, it's so
Yeah.
important. Yeah. And that, you know, they show areas that don't have those, that don't have a lot of availabilities. The kids, they get into something, it's usually not good. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of how that happens. If they don't
Yeah.
have a place or a program, then they'll figure something out,
Yeah.
and that's not what you want. So that's good. So what do your kids do after school?
My son's in band,
Ooh.
so he plays instrument, and my daughter's in dance. So that's helpful. You know, they just have their
Yeah.
own like thing that they're into that keeps them busy outside of the house.
Yeah. What does your son play?
He plays the French horn.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I was expecting like drums, guitar, or something, but
Oh.
French horn. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So is it like a jam band, or is it like a
No, it's
after
a
school
high school band. It's
Oh,
a
he's in
the
high school.
So
Oh, okay.
we happen to move to a state that's like high school band and high school football go
Does-
hand in hand.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yes.
Whoa.
And
Okay.
football, both are a big deal because they go
Yeah.
hand in hand because Texas Friday night lights out.
That's right.
So,
of course, that makes perfect
like
sense.
the band is like a whole nother level. Like they have their own calendar. I have to keep up with like what is happening. Like it's like last year was his freshman year, so I was like, I have no idea what's happening. I don't know what's going on.
Sure.
Just trying to like figure it out, but it's a little intense. I mean, he enjoys it.
Yeah, well, that's
I'm
good.
like, okay, keeps him busy for a few months, but I'm like, sheesh. Yeah, so they're pretty serious about band out there. Like
That's
there's band
amazing.
competition,
Yeah.
marching band competition to be more specific.
Yeah.
And then once they're done with marching band, they go into like concert season. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah. I wouldn't have even thought of that, but that makes perfect
Yeah,
sense. Of course.
I didn't know
yeah.
either until I moved. It's been an interesting experience. Like we went to our first high school game the first fall that we were there of 20, because even when he was in 8th grade, they had a chance to perform at one high school football game, the middle schoolers. So we went.
Oh, okay.
And that was my introduction to high school football. I was like, it was interesting, next level. Like the stadium, the jumbotron or whatever it's called. Like just the announcer. I was like,
Yeah, the
what is
fact they even
happening
have
here?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh no, it's a whole thing. I was like,
Wow.
what is like?
I've heard, but I didn't know.
Yeah,
it was
no,
like
I
that.
was like having. I was like, what is happening here?
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. So, and he really likes it. So I'm like, okay, well,
That's great.
yeah.
He did pick a good loud instrument. So does he practice a lot at home and drive you crazy with it?
No, I mean we're kind of used to like all the sounds, so I think we're fine. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's a great viewpoint. I'm a musician, like I'm a drummer, so it doesn't get any louder.
Drumming though.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, my kid, I'm like, you're too quiet. Like, make more
Yeah,
noise. Here's
yeah.
every instrument. Play what you
Yeah.
want. So trumpet, French horn, like those are great instruments. They
Yeah.
just make a ton of noise. I have a niece and a nephew, and I got my nephew a drum set when he was a kid, and I got my niece the same thing. I got her a guitar.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, drive my sister crazy, please. Like, here you go.
Yeah. My son's really interested in learning how to play the drums because the percussionists they're really impressive, even at the high school level there, and so he bought like these not pads, but they're like those flat drum, and you just
Little square practice.
Yes.
Yeah, those
So
are great.
he'll practice on them. I'm like,
Oh yeah, those are great.
yeah.
Nice. So yeah, he works on the paradiddles.
Yeah.
And the rolls.
I don't know what he's doing, but yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, you're gonna have to get him something that makes a lot more noise.
No. Yeah, no. It's fine.
They have electric kits that are pretty decent, but they're not cheap. Is the only problem. But yeah, and then you know what? I had an apartment. When I was living in an apartment, I had these drum pads that you can put on the drum set, and they reduce the noise by like 70%. They're still pretty loud, but they're not crazy loud. So that's always an option, especially if you have a garage. You can always put the drums in the garage, but that's me being a drum advocate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, not so much.
It's okay.
That's fun. Do you have any pets?
I have a dog.
What kind of dog? My friend just texted me. I want a Doberman. So what type of dog do you have?
Doberman, huh?
That's what he wants.
That's nice. I have a lab.
Oh, okay.
A chocolate lab.
Chocolate lab. Yeah, those are great dogs.
Yes, they're good.
Yeah.
They're good dogs. They're,
Boy or girl dog?
It's a boy.
Boy. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. How is the energy level for those?
Well, there's English labs and then there's American.
Okay.
And the American are, so the English are a bit more like they're shorter and stockier. And supposedly they're less hyper energetic because the The American is more, has more energy, requires a lot more exercise.
Yeah.
Like more. But they look very similar, just size.
Sure.
So we have the English lab.
Okay.
I say all that because he still has he's still like, he's gonna be 4 and he still acts like a puppy. Like he has puppy
wow.
energy.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But he's a good dog. They're real smart.
Nice.
Very like, they want to please you.
Okay.
And they want to be with you.
Oh, that's
Like,
good. Okay.
they're very needy. I'm like,
Oh, I see. I didn't know that. Yeah.
not a cat before.
Yeah. I have, well, it's my daughter's dog, but it's an English bulldog.
Okay.
And so she just snores all day, even when she's awake, but she just never wants to be awake. She just snores, sleeps.
Oh,
snores,
really?
sleeps. Yeah. She like in Chicago summertime,
Uh-huh.
half a block, she can't walk anymore. She's done.
She's like, I'm done.
I'm done.
Oh.
That's it. Yeah. And then in the wintertime, not even a half a block. She's like, I don't want to
really?
touch it. Yeah. So there's like a week long in spring where I can take her for like a couple of blocks. That's it. Like today, I took her for a 2 block walk.
Oh, wow.
And even at the end of today, she was like looking for the water. Like, I don't want to be done. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, trying to drag me home. So yeah. Which don't get me wrong. In the wintertime, I love that.
You're like, yes.
Give me a lazy dog, please.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah. So but I know my daughter wants another dog, and she wants like a purse dog that like she likes the little fluffy.
Yeah.
She wants to carry it everywhere she
Right.
goes.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Because she splits time with me and her mom. So if she gets a dog, that means I got to deal with it most of the time. She got a lizard too, and that means I got to feed it and change its poop and all that stuff. Because that's the thing. When she bought it, I was like, this eats bugs, right? She's like, yeah, it'll be fine. I'll feed it. Well, refuses. Absolutely won't touch it. Won't do it. So I got to do the bugs.
I was gonna ask what it eats, but I figured it's insects.
Yep. Yeah. And so then she says, if we get another reptile, it's got to be a vegetarian. I said, okay, fine. But the only vegetarian lizard is an iguana, and those get 7 feet long. They're huge. Yeah. There's a ton of people here today. Wow. Yeah, for her lizard, I give her a budget of like her allowance, right? And I'm like, hey, you could, it's your money, do whatever you want with it. And so she saved it up for like 6 months and got $300 together and bought a bearded dragon and the tank and everything. And I was like, it's your money, so you can buy it, but I really messed up. You live and learn, yeah.
So she likes it, but doesn't want to feed it.
Yeah, she doesn't want to touch them, and she doesn't hold it or anything. It's just it's a for looks pet.
Got it.
It's super friendly. It's really nice, and it's like a really pretty orange color, but she doesn't do anything with it. Oh, you're fine. All right. Well, it was so nice chatting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, no, take your time, of course.
Luggage.